Welcome to another episode of the Real Deal Podcast powered by IMN Media. You already know who it is. It's your host, Rico Panasy. And today we're going to get into this year in sports. So this year has been an up and down year in sports, definitely for the most part. One of the first things that we're going to talk about, we're going to get into is the NFL season. So 2021 has been a crazy football year. So we left off at the 2021 season with the Super Bowl. So that saw Tom Brady pretty much emerging in a new city with a new team and them picking up a new win. So one of the things that's great about that story is how it started. So it's just like you go from being one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time for one of the most prominent AFC teams that you helped build, which is the New England Patriots, and you actually leave that situation, then you go to a new team, you go to a new city, and you go to a new coach, and you take that team. You bring in a couple friends, you bring Gronk with you, you bring Leonard Fournette, then you bring Antonio Brown in, and you take the team Tampa Bay and you lead them all the way to a Super Bowl championship. So that's one of the things that you would never expect to happen, but only a player the caliber of Tom Brady can actually do it, and they can actually pull it off. So, that's how we ended the 2021 NFL season. And then you go from that, you go to the 2021 NBA season, and then you see something that happens that none of us really expected. So, one of the big things is most of us thought that the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron James, Anthony Davis was going to repeat and was going to win another championship. But then you get to the playoffs and you run into Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns, and you run into a young Devin Booker, and the Phoenix Suns go on to upset every team that you think they're not going to beat. Not only does that happen, but then you see the Milwaukee Bucks rebound and just start taking out all the Eastern Conference competition. So not only does that happen, but the favorite Brooklyn Nets end up going down. Then you see the Greek Freak take over in the NBA Finals and lead Milwaukee to one of his first championships in a long time. So a lot of people like myself, we definitely like Giannis, and we can't really be mad at it because he put on a heck of a performance in the actual playoffs and in the NBA Finals to actually lead the team there. But it's one of them things that we actually never thought, and we never thought we was going to see happen this soon. So then you go from that till you go on into spring, into summer. Then you go with the MLB season, which was a crazy up and down season. So definitely out here in Texas, a lot of us was disappointed because, the Rangers didn't perform as well as we thought they would. But also at the same time, you see teams like the Houston Astros who continue to go on, and they continue to put together wonderful performances again and end up going all the way to the World Series. But the unexpected thing that happened this year, especially this season, is they go on to get upset by the Atlanta Braves. Crazy, right? So the Atlanta Braves, they go on and they win the MLB championship for one of the first times in a long time. Me personally, I don't remember Atlanta being good since they had people like Greg Madison, Tom Glavine. But then you see them rebound from those Chipper Jones type years, and then they come back and bring actually another World Series to the home and to the city of Atlanta and Georgia. So, that's a crazy thing. So then after that, we go on and we rebound and we start back up into another crazy football season. So a lot of people out here, especially like in the DFW Dallas area, some of us was looking forward to seeing what the Cowboys were going to do this year, especially with Dak rebuilding from his foot injury and his ankle injury. So one of the things that definitely was one of the biggest stories in NFL this year, especially in the NFC, was seeing the actual Cowboys rebuild, rebound, and actually emerge as one of the best teams in the NFL so far this season. So they definitely got out to an early start. When you see a defense that comes out and improves, especially with an offense playing high caliber in the way that it's been playing this year and been playing the years before, and you see them jump out to the early 7-1 success before stumbling across some losses, especially with losing 3 of the last 4. But even right now, I think the record's at like 7-4, which is still not bad. They're still number 1 in their division. So it's still looking good for the playoffs, especially going to the NFC Championship. But it's one of the things that we're going to continue to watch, especially with the remaining weeks of the season coming up. So then some of the other stories in the NFL that's been going on, the Aaron Rodgers story, especially taking Green Bay by storm, with them going through the contract situation, then him actually reporting and playing with the team, then the team actually improving, then the team started winning, then the whole COVID situation. That was one of the things that people didn't expect it, because it's like you'll think that he'll get sidelined by an injury or something like that, but it ends up being that, and that ends up being one of the other crazier things. But then you get a chance to see teams in the AFC who still dominate, and storylines that dominate there. Like, one of the things is, I think we all knew the New England Patriots was going to be okay, but we didn't know who was the quarterback. So we didn't know who the quarterback was going to be, especially going into the future. Some of us thought it was going to be Cam Newton. Not that he had a pretty solid season last year, but Cam Newton ends up being basically released, and now he's back in the NFL, and he's actually leading the Carolina Panthers, who started out with an impressive 3-0 record before they ran into the Cowboys and began losing after that behind Sam Darnold. So then they go on and look for different quarterbacks, and it ends up bringing in Cam Newton, who's back, and right now they're fighting to remain at 500 and go above it and get ready to try to fight for a playoff spot. But then go back to the Patriots, and now you have Mac Jones, who's pretty much leading this team, and they're playing pretty solid, but it's still time is still tell what actually happens with them, especially with them being in the AFC. So a lot of people had the Tennessee Titans as being their favorites and their front runners, but then Derrick Henry ends up getting hurt and ends up getting sidelined for the rest of the year with his injury. And then you got teams like the Oakland Raiders, who came out and were performing pretty well, but then the head coach ends up getting fired, and John Gruden with the scandal that he ended up going through. So then you got other teams who still pretty much remain solid, but they're still going through their own issues. Like in AFC, you got Pittsburgh with Ben Roethlisberger. His plays kind of being up and down, but it's kind of remaining solid. You got Patrick Mahomes, who ended up getting hurt in Kansas City, but he's still pretty much he's rebounding pretty good right now. So they're looking like they're still going to be in the playoff picture. And then you have, of course, the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson, who's pretty much been going steady along the way that they normally are. So this NFL season is definitely going in the direction to where we don't necessarily know who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl come January and February, but it's looking like either way that it goes, it's going to be it's going to be a solid contest. So then you go from the NFL to NBA season starting again. And then, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers being one of the biggest headlines, especially with the crazy super team, dominant team that they put together. So you got everybody from LeBron James to Carmelo Anthony to Russell Westbrook to Anthony Davis to Rajon Rondo to DeAndre Jordan, all playing on the same team. So you have this phenomenal, super, almost Space Jam Olympic type team that's put together. But you have all this talent on one team, but then once the season starts, you see how hard it is for them to definitely gel together and find their chemistry, because you have 2 to 3 solid centers with Dwight Howard, DeAndre Jordan, and then Anthony Davis. But then it's like, who are you going to put on the court and who are you going to take off the court? Because you have to decide. Then you have LeBron and Carmelo, then you have Rondo and Westbrook. So it's like, who's going to have the ball, who's going to dominate? And then it just goes to show you that you can have some of the most impressive talent on the team, but the team still has to play together and gel together for them to actually end up winning a game. So me personally, it's still one of my favorites going into the NBA playoffs and the NBA finals later coming up next year in 2022. But time will tell. So you got other teams that still looking impressive. Like shocking teams that came out in the East and actually been emerging. So you had the Hornets and the Bulls, led by the 2 Ball brothers, respectively, end up jumping out to early starts. And the Bulls actually still keeping it up. But then you still have teams like the Heat. You have the Bucks. You have the Sixers, whose record has dropped, but they're still playing good right now. You have the Washington Wizards, who's playing better than people expected. And then you got the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are even at 500 right now. So right now, everything in the NBA is definitely, there's a balance of power in the Eastern and the Western Conference right now. So definitely going into the playoffs, going into the NBA Finals, we could expect another solid campaign to get ready to finish and to actually get ready to be completed. So, this year, 2021 in sports has pretty much been a solid year, especially going into the year 2022. We can expect everything to be bigger. We can expect everything to be better. We can expect things to be even more phenomenal. So definitely, we're going to keep an eye on it. We appreciate y'all listening, tune in. As always, make sure you follow us on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Rich Fantasy. Make sure you listen and download more episodes of the podcast. Definitely check out Iron Man. Until next time, we out. Peace and